Welcome to Gilded Gaming and the very beginning of our Final Fantasy franchise playthrough. Oh my god, this is gonna be such a ride. It's gonna take so long. But we're going to play every single Final Fantasy game in this channel. Yeah. Wow, like that's so many games. I think the current list we have is Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 5, Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Final Fantasy 10-2, Final Fantasy 7 Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy 12, we skipped 11, Final Fantasy Crisis 7 Crisis Core on the PSP, Final Fantasy Tactics A2 Grimoire of the Rift on the DS, Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 14, possibly, maybe. We'll talk about that one in the future. We're gonna get to that. We'll come back to that one. Final Fantasy Type 0, Final Fantasy 13-2, Final Fantasy 13-3, otherwise known as Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Final Fantasy 7 Crystal Chronicles, and Final Fantasy 16, because it'll be out by the time we get there, right? What a list. It's a lot even just to say. But here we are. We're at the beginning. So tonight we're going to be playing Final Fantasy 1, which, you know, it's just a classic. Let's be fair. So a new thing that we're doing on the channel is have I played all the games I've listed before? I've played all of them at least a little bit. I have not beaten all of them. So for some of these, this will be the first time I beat them. For some of these, this will be the first time I get past the beginning. And some of them I have beaten several times. And we're going to talk about that. So, the new thing we're doing on the channel, we've had these channel points, and we've been kind of sitting on the channel points thing through all of Xenoblade and Xenogears and Xenosaga. You know, we've got our partner thing with Twitch, we've got subscriptions, and we have channel points, and we're just been kind of letting the channel points be there. You know, we've not been doing anything with them, and I felt like it was time to do something with them. So, other than make me wear a monkey hat, which made Des very happy, but it's, I mean, come on, we can't just do the monkey hat. Is everybody really big on the monkey hat thing, huh? Well, we'll talk about the monkey hat later. Anyways, I am going to start running several community goals for the stream, having to do with our Final Fantasy playthrough. So each Final Fantasy game is going to have a community goal associated with it generally. And we also have some like goals to add games to the list, because you may have noticed I didn't say every Final Fantasy game when I read out that ridiculously long list. Now, the first ones that we have goals for are not technically Final Fantasy games, regardless of what their title may say. I had someone ask about these last night at the end of Chrono Cross, and I'm like, they're like, are you going to play Final Fantasy Adventure? Or are you going to play Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, 3, right? Those aren't actually Final Fantasy games. I'm just going to put that out there. They're not. They say Final Fantasy. They came out around the same time. They're made by the same company. They put Final Fantasy on the title to make it sell better in America. That's really all that is. They were hoping that the dumb Americans would be like, oh, Final Fantasy, I like that. And they buy it, and then they wouldn't go, oh, wait, this isn't a Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy Adventure is actually the first Secret of Mana game. Secret of Mana, what we have on the Super Nintendo, is actually Second Densetsu 2. Part 1 is what we call Final Fantasy Adventure. It is the Mana series. It is the first in the Mana series, but they called it Final Fantasy Adventure because they thought it would sell better. Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3 are the beginning of the Saga series, like Unlimited Saga, Romancing Saga, all of those games. Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3 are actually the first 3 entries in that series, and once again, they just threw Final Fantasy on there to make it sell better. They're not really Final Fantasy games, but because people want to see them, I am offering the option of adding them to our list anyways, right? It's like, same company, same name, whatever, right? So there are 2 community goals going on right now where you can put bananas towards adding Final Fantasy Legend 1 or Final Fantasy Adventure to the list. If Final Fantasy Legend 1 makes it on the list, there'll be another one for 2, and if 2 makes it on the list, there'll be another one for 3. So those games can come on if people want to spend their bananas on it. If people don't want to spend their bananas on it, there's not enough community appeal, we're just going to skip them, because they're not really Final Fantasy games. But I am perfectly willing to play them if there's enough interest, and this is my way of gauging interest. The other community goal we have right now, because you can have 3 at a time, so I made a 3rd one, and this one is pertaining specifically to Final Fantasy. This one only has 7 days on it. They say on the goal. Or did they not say? They should say. We're gonna go into that. And I wasn't sure how much to put for each one. A lot of people have a lot of bananas saved up already. People have been saving up for that monkey hat for whatever reason. Like, we were like, oh, monkey hat, right? I started making the goals, and Deadshire was like, I could buy that myself with all my monkey hat money, right? I didn't want to make them too expensive, but I also wanted to make it to where it took more than one person to do them, because I feel like for it to be a community goal, it shouldn't just be one guy had a lot of bananas saved up and so he got it. There are limits to how much you can contribute to a community goal per day. They are designed to where it should take 2 people to do them, at least, even if you just spend all your bananas, right? The first one, the Final Fantasy one, only has 7 days on it. The reason it only has 7 days on it is because it's only going to take me like a week to go through Final Fantasy 1. Right, I know you guys have a lot. And I want you to think about this as like, you could spend them on these, and you can earn more as you watch the Final Fantasies and spend them on later ones, but there are going to be more and more and more. We're going to be coming up with more of them. Like I said, there's going to be Final Fantasy Adventure, Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3 are all going to be their own goals. Final Fantasy 1 has a new goal that only has a week, and it is to play the game a second time. Because this time, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new game, and we are going to make like a sort of standard party. I say sort of standard because my standard party is, you know, fighter, red mage, white mage, black mage, or fighter. I mean, really, fighter, red mage, white mage, black mage. That's like my ideal party. Sometimes I'll swap out the red mage for a monk, but fighter, red mage, white mage, black mage. That's my Final Fantasy crew, right? Or just fighter, white mage, black mage. And when we played this game back in May before we started Xenoblade, and I played with that party. So I'm not going to do that same party again. This time we're going to, I was talking over on the Discord today, and I think we've decided that we're going to do Final Fantasy 1 this time with no white mages or black mages, because I'm just, they're a crutch and we don't need them. So we're going to do fighter, thief, monk, and red mage is going to be our party tonight. And the idea behind the first community goal for Final Fantasy 1 is, if you guys really like the Final Fantasy 1 content, you can pay bananas to get me to play the game a second time with a party of your choosing. So if you guys meet that goal, we'll play the game a second time with whatever party you want, whether that be 4 white mages or even, you know, 3 dead guys and a monk by himself. You know, like what it could be some kind of challenge run, basically. This first time through, though, we're going to do all the bosses and all the bonus dungeons. So including the last one, which I've never actually done the last one before. I've played this on the Game Boy Advance on Dawn of Souls. I played it a lot on Dawn of Souls, and Dawn of Souls added 4 bonus dungeons, 1 for each fiend. As you defeat the fiend, it unlocks the bonus dungeon. When they went to the PSP for the Anniversary Edition, which is what we're playing now, they added another bonus dungeon, which you have to have defeated all 4 fiends to access. It's at the Chaos Shrine at the end. There's entrance to another dungeon which is even longer and even harder and has even stronger bosses in it. And it starts imposing challenges on you as you go through the dungeon, where it's like, well, you can't use your attack option anymore, and your intelligence is halved, and stuff like that. Wow, you guys got lots of bananas. Well, I am going to... See, that's what I'm saying. We've been ignoring the bananas. We've been ignoring the bananas for far too long. We are going to start using bananas. So, we're gonna start having these challenges. I'm gonna put out a new challenge for each game. So, I don't really have one planned for Final Fantasy 2 or 3, but when we get to Final Fantasy 4, what was it? I'm planning on playing Final Fantasy 4, the PSP version, which is the Final Fantasy 4 collection with the nice graphics and the After Years epilogue extra story added onto it. But we're gonna have a community goal to where if you guys put enough bananas, I will play the DS version. And the reason I say that is because the DS version is very, very different than the other. Like, it's the same story, it's the same characters, but there's like this whole augment system, and you can like trade abilities around. It's a very different mechanics to the DS version of Final Fantasy 4. So we're gonna have a community goal to play the DS version as well as the PSP version. When we get to Final Fantasy 5, we're just gonna play the game like normal, but there's gonna be a community goal to do a 4-job fiesta run, which is where you get a random set of 4 jobs and beat the game with just those 4, instead of using the whole smorgasbord of jobs that are available to you. So on and so forth. We're gonna have more and more of these for each game. So you are gonna have ways to spend all these bananas you've been saving up, because you know, you guys deserve to have a way to spend your bananas. We also have a new just all the time banana spender out there called Who's That Pokemon? It's 1,000 bananas. Because you gotta mean it. But that's not much, right? But you gotta mean it. For 1,000 bananas, when we are naming a character, if you use Who's That Pokemon at the time that we're naming the character, you can name the character. Whoever spends it first. If there's one character, you know, we just unlocked Sabin, and both of you spend your 1,000 bananas at the same time, I can only give it to one person. I don't know what to do about that, really. Maybe we'll say, like, okay, you get to name the next guy too. He did it first, right? Whoever's first on my screen spending their bananas can name the character. Speaking of which, if you guys want to, we've got 4 characters to name right now. I don't know if you wanna, but we are going to have a warrior, a thief, a monk, and a red mage. That's gonna be our party tonight. I haven't come up with names for them yet. Like, if you guys don't want to spend any bananas, that's cool. I'll probably do like Gilded, Desshire, Leo, and like the chat. You know, you guys can get the red mage because you guys are just a jack of all trades over there, right? But yeah, so there's a new thing for letting you guys name stuff. I've seen that on other streams, and I was like, that's just a good idea. I like that idea. Anyways, enough preamble. We've been talking for, I don't even know now, like 10 minutes or something. Let's get on with the game, huh? So, oh wow, you have 106,000 bananas. Bad latency, you are the man. I'm gonna have to, like, okay, so when I was setting up these sub goals, I was like, how much should I make them cost? And I'm like, I don't even freaking know, you know, like, I don't know how many bananas people have. And then, like, even if they do have a lot of bananas, like bad latency, I don't know how many they're gonna want to spend on one particular goal, or if they'll care about that goal, right? So, the original ones, to add Final Fantasy Legend or Final Fantasy Adventure to the roster is 50,000 bananas. And that's like between everybody, anybody that comes in, and you have a month to do that, right? So anyone can do that. If you want the Final Fantasy 1 challenge mode with a party of your choosing, it's only 25,000, I think. Yeah, 25,000. They're meant for multiple people to do them together. It's not meant for one person to buy it. In fact, I think I picked 25,000 specifically so someone couldn't just buy it, because I think you can only do 2,000 a day towards a goal. So you can't do that one on your own. Anyways, this is, oh man, okay, I guess maybe just do Des. Says. And Leo, namesake of our monkey, my son. And the chat. It's for all of you guys. All right. Cool beans. Well, let's get this party started, guys. I love this game so much. The world lies shrouded in darkness. The winds die. The seas rage. Kind of weird to have raging seas with no wind, right? Like, it makes more sense to have what you had in like Final Fantasy V, or like you just can't get anywhere on by boat. The earth decays. Like there's no wind and the water's not really doing anything. But the people believe in a prophecy, patiently awaiting its fulfillment. When darkness fails the world, 4 warriors of light shall come. After a long journey, 4 young travelers did at last appear. I wonder where they journeyed from, right? And in hand of each was clutched a crystal, and they already had the crystals. They showed up with them. Did they come from another universe? Sudden Xenoblade crossover that we all didn't know we wanted. All right, we gotta go talk to the king, because if we don't, they're gonna force us to anyways. I gotta get used to like X being yes and circle being no again. Xenoblade is like the Xeno games have like trained me to circle is yes. Oh my god, we got crystals. It's just like the prophecy foretold. But before you can save the world, you gotta save my daughter. If you don't save my daughter, then the world will die. So go save her, because I'm holding you hostage. You traveled from really, really far away, from outside of this land, but now you're stuck here until you save Princess Sarah. So go save her. It's a good thing you lost your boat or whatever. All right. I mean, you have to wonder too, like, if we didn't save Princess Sarah, if we just let her die, would all of this have happened? Because like Garland wouldn't have gotten like, I mean, Princess Sarah would have been in a bad way, right? We all would have felt bad for Princess Sarah, but Garland would have never been like humiliated by the 4 heroes, and then probably wouldn't have been teleported back in time by the fiends to become chaos, and everything would have been fine if we just like let Garland stay like a low-class villain that just kills one princess. Like, Garland gets defeated and then like becomes chaos, you know? I think the nunchaku are actually better than his fists at low level until he gets a couple levels under his belt, if I remember right. I have never had a party like this before, so it's gonna take me a minute to like... I'm so used to having mages in the party. We're not gonna have to pay anywhere near as much for magic, but man, we're gonna have to pay some more for armor and weapons, which are more expensive usually. Alright, so we can get 2 things of chainmail. And 2 things of... well, we're just gonna get 1 leather armor. Because pretty soon, the monk isn't gonna want armor anymore. Dang it, stop. I've gotta stop hitting circle. That's gonna be a thing for a little bit. Alright, optimal will be just fine for right now. Okay. And can we actually remove these? Is that better? Let's see, his defense is 3 and his evasion is 53. Yeah, it's better without it. And this, his attack is, so it's 1913. But he is better for the moment with his nunchucks. Why does it put the clothes on? Like, it literally makes me worse. Like, come on, man. There's nothing good about those clothes. Alright. Here we go. Everybody understands that the thief is a female in this one. They have to go with me on that. Alright. Let's reorder the party, actually. I think the red mage is probably going to be the second tankiest after the warrior. And then, honestly, the monk is probably the least tanky. At least for now. He'll get a lot of hit points, probably, but he is going to just have no defense. It's so weird. It's such a weird combination. Here we are. Okay. We can get a couple spells. But what would we want right now? We're definitely gonna want Blink. Can no one learn Blink? Okay. Well, it's only for the caster anyways. We can get Protect and Cure. We don't really need Dia. Dia is a AoE damage spell that only hurts undead. We definitely want Sleep. I think Sleep, Cure, and Protect, maybe. Will have to be what we go with. Man, only got to choose 3 spells out of 8 each level until eventually the ninja and the knight can use magic too. But for now, it's just going to be the red mage. Let's buy some potions too. That's all we got. Alright, we'll work on that. Alright. We're officially ready to set out. I love this little controller, by the way. It's like a Super Nintendo controller that's completely like, it's Bluetooth. And it's got all the extra like analog sticks and the 4 shoulder buttons and everything. It's fun. Good controller. Alright. Okay. Well, this party should just destroy early game stuff because they all do good physical damage. Honestly, I think the monk does the best physical damage in the game once he gets high enough level. I think he even outstrips the fighter. He's already doing good damage. The big downside of the monk is his defense. Alright, so we can actually see here the first of the bonus dungeons. This is the bonus dungeon that opens up after the Lich is defeated. And I'm trying to decide how we want to do the bonus dungeons. There's 2 ways we could do it. We could play through the game regularly and beat Chaos without any bonus dungeons. Or we could do each bonus dungeon as we defeat the Fiends. And they both have their ups and downs. Considering that we're going to be playing all of the bonus dungeons, I think maybe we should do like beat a Fiend, do its bonus dungeon, beat a Fiend, do its bonus dungeon. Because the bonus dungeon like that unlocks after the Lich is of a level as if you'd fought it right after the Lich. So if you come back like after you've already beaten Tiamat, that's going to be a really easy dungeon, you know? So it'll probably be more beneficial to us to do it when it actually opens up. Alright, I think I'm trying to remember. Some of these doors in here are locked by the Mystic Key. But I think there's a hat we can get, but I don't remember which side it's on. If you're wondering like how are you gonna heal and stuff, like first of all, there's a lot of items in Final Fantasy 1 that can just straight up cast a spell. If you use the item, if you use like the equipment as an item, it casts some sort of spell. There are ones that do healing spells. Also, just potions. We're just gonna carry hundreds and hundreds of potions around. Okay, this is a lot with Mystic Key. I think it's the left side. Go ahead and use a potion on the thief. You can see like all these guys are just one-shotting everything right now. We don't have to deal with like normally you'd come in here, you'd have like a white mage and a black mage or something, and like they can't really kill things in one hit. All of these guys can kill things in one hit. So we're going to tear through these early game enemies, which is good. Because getting a couple levels under our belt gives us a huge increase in hit points. Alright, there's the leather cap. We're going to give that to our fighter. In Final Fantasy 1, the higher up you are in the party order, the more likely you are to get hit. So the fighter should take most of the hits because he's at the top of the party order. That's why I rearranged the party. I gotta be careful about these guys a little bit. There's a lot of them and they can do some damage. The red one's the worst. He's the Ward Wolf. And he should be gone now. Yep. And I'll check out the others. So we need to heal Leo after this. We only have so many potions, so I've been trying to conserve them. Getting the couple levels under our belt that we've already gotten is plenty. Like, we can easily probably take out Garland right now. But I am going to step outside and save first. Just in case. Because we don't want to have to redo anything. We only bought 3 potions, so we've only got 1 left. The boss is literally straight ahead from where you come in. All the rest of the place is just hiding like 4 chests at the 4 corners. Alright, so these guys are undead. They're not much of a threat. They can paralyze you, I believe. A lot of undead early game can paralyze you, and it's not much of a problem in a normal game, but if you're ever playing through on a solo run, it can be devastating. Because if one of them paralyzes you, they can just like paralyze lock you, where before you can get unparalyzed, they'll re-paralyze you, and you just sit there getting paralyzed over and over and over again, and you can't get out of it until they... Even as a fighter, there can be times when like they're hitting you for like 1 damage at a time, but they're just slowly whittling you down because there's like 6, you know, revenants or whatever, just like beating on you 1 hit point at a time, constantly paralyzing you. Eventually you get a ribbon and then it's not an issue anymore, but still. Alright, the king will have no choice but to exchange the kingdom for his daughter's life. Cornelia will be mine. What are you guys doing here? Who's there? The king's lapdogs? Do you have any idea who you're messing with? I mean, yeah, Garland. You really think you have what it takes to cross swords with me? Farewell. He is so full of himself, having not yet become like this immortal chaos being, right? He is tall though. I mean, look how big that dude is. Alright, so all we're gonna do is just straight up attack him. He missed. He attacked the thief. He will not last long under this barrage of swords and nunchucks. He might go down this turn. He lives. Okay, he did quite a lot of damage. He might drop one of us, but he's done. There he goes. First boss complete. That's it. All right. We've saved the princess. You've come to rescue me? I don't know how I can ever thank you. I mean, you could give us like a loot. That'd be helpful one day at like the end of the game. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Go save the world. I'm sorry, if you're here for a Final Fantasy 1 playthrough, there's not much story. We saved the world. That's it. We're just out here to do it. I've beaten this game so many times, I'm not going to read all the text. This game came out so recently. I know. Like 1987 or something like that. I'm a horrible, horrible person. This game is almost as old as I am. This game is probably older than a lot of my viewers. I'm just saying. Alright, we're gonna go into this. Get the spoilers out of the way. Garland, the guy we just beat, is actually the final boss of the game. The twist. This game has like this crazy time loop paradox plot where like the fiends send Garland back in time 1,000 years, where he like revives the fiends and sends them forth every couple centuries to take over the world so that they can one day send him back in time and make him chaos again, thus completing the circle. And so at the end we have to like go back in time into the time loop and defeat chaos before he can send the fiends forward or something.